The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council falls silent as Admiral Helena Chen, Earth's chief diplomat, slams her palm on the negotiation table. The holographic display above shows evidence of the Midorian hegemony's third secret weapon shipment to the neutral fringe worlds, a direct violation of the very treaty being discussed. For 200 years, Chen says, her voice dangerously quiet, humanity has acted in good faith. This ends today. The chamber erupts as Chen activates a small device on her wrist. Throughout the massive crystalline hall, hidden monitoring equipment, secretly placed by council races to spy on each other, suddenly shorts out in cascading sparks. Representatives from 87 alien civilizations shield themselves from the electrical display. Elder Zivkrol of the Midorian hegemony rises in outrage. How dare you bring unauthorized technology? Spare me. Chen cuts him off. My team is leaving. You have 48 standard hours to consider your position. She gestures to her staff, and the entire human delegation walks out, their footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Outside the chamber, Lieutenant Commander Rice falls into step beside Chen. Was that wise, Admiral? 2 centuries of diplomacy. 2 centuries of being played for fools, Chen replies, not breaking stride, as they pass bewildered alien dignitaries in the Grand Corridor. The Midorians have been using our peacekeeping efforts as cover for their expansion. The Corvisi have been reverse engineering our medical technology to create bioweapons. And the Tellurians, our supposed closest allies, have been feeding our trade secrets to the highest bidders. They enter a private elevator that descends rapidly toward the diplomatic hangar. Chen removes a quantum communicator from her pocket, a device far beyond what Earth has officially shared with the council races. Takahashi, are we ready? She asks. All vessels prepped, Admiral, comes the response. Displacement drives are hot, just waiting for your team to board. The elevator doors open to reveal a bustling hangar where the human diplomatic corps efficiently loads equipment onto sleek shuttles. Unlike the ornate diplomatic vessels of other species, the human shuttles are deceptively utilitarian, hiding cutting-edge technology beneath unassuming exteriors. Chen turns to address her team one last time on council soil. 30 men and women. The best Earth has to offer. Look back at her with determination. What happens in the next 48 hours will determine the course of human history, she says. The Council believes we need them more than they need us. They believe Earth is just another world to be managed and eventually absorbed into their collective. Today, we show them how wrong they've been. As her team boards the shuttles, Shen notices a young Vanir aide watching from behind a support column. The logical, analytical species rarely shows emotion, but this one, barely adult by their standards, displays unmistakable curiosity. Chen approaches, surprising the aide who clearly expected to remain unnoticed. What's your name? Chen asks. T'Prel, Admiral, the Vanir replies, her large eyes blinking rapidly. Junior Archivist, Statistical Division. Chen studies her for a moment, then reaches into her pocket and presses a small data crystal into the startled alien's hand. When they tell you their version of today's events, you might want to compare it with reality, Chen says quietly. Some truths are worth seeking, regardless of the consequences. T'Prel clutches the crystal, a look of confusion and fascination crossing her angular features. Why me? Chen smiles thinly. Because you were the only one who came to watch us leave. The only one curious enough to see for yourself. In orbit above Nexus Prime, the diplomatic capital, 12 Earth vessels simultaneously activate prototype quantum shields that cause their hulls to shimmer with iridescent energy. The Council's monitoring systems register energy patterns never before seen, not weapons, but something more troubling. Humanity has been concealing technological advances for decades. As Chen's shuttle docks with the EA's Prometheus, she receives confirmation that all personnel are safely aboard the fleet. She gives a single command: execute Exodus Protocol. The human fleet vanishes in a brilliant flash that temporarily blinds orbital sensors. When the light fades, they're simply gone, leaving behind only a lingering electromagnetic signature that baffles the Council's best scientists, and a data crystal in the hands of a young Vanir archivist who will soon discover that everything she knows about human history is built on carefully constructed lies. 3 weeks after humanity's departure, Security Director Nexaren of the Avian Corvisi races through the lower halls of the Council Tower. In her talons, she clutches data crystals containing intercepted communications. The emergency session already underway seems distant compared to what she's discovered. Inside the council chamber, the political facade has collapsed. 3 border skirmishes have escalated to open warfare without human peacekeepers. The Boros Trade Confederation announces imminent bankruptcy as human-guaranteed loans suddenly lack backing. We must formulate a unified response to this human tantrum, Elder Zivkrol declares, his 6 eyes blinking asynchronously, a sign of anxiety in his species. Director Nexaren bursts into the chamber, protocol forgotten. There is no unified anything anymore, she announces, inserting the data crystal into the central display. The humans didn't just leave. They took their closest allies with them. The display shows the 7 non-human races that maintain the strongest ties with Earth, nearly a quarter of the Council's economic power, secretly mobilizing their fleets and resources. More disturbing are the intelligence reports from beyond the Cygnus Void, showing massive human construction projects on scales never before witnessed. Time-lapse imagery reveals entire moons being methodically disassembled, their materials fed into structures of unknown purpose. They're not building weapons, whispers a horrified Tellurian scientist, analyzing the data in real time. They're building worlds. The chamber descends into chaos as accusations fly between factions. Elder Zivkrol pounds his appendage on the ancient table, demanding order. The humans were always primitive upstarts, he hisses, mandibles flaring. We controlled their technological development, restricted their colonial expansion. How could they possibly? You fool, interrupts Delegate Sora of the crystalline Lumidian collective. Her translucent body pulses with colors reflecting agitation. We never controlled anything. They let us believe we did. Sora projects a private intelligence assessment onto the main display. The Lumidians, masters of photonic technology, had been monitoring Earth's communications network for decades. Their analysis shows an unmistakable pattern of technological advancement deliberately hidden from Council observers. Their public research was a facade, Sora explains, her voice resonating through her crystalline form. While showing us incremental advancements in fusion technology, they were actually developing gravitational manipulation capabilities we thought impossible. While demonstrating rudimentary genetic therapies, they were perfecting genomic engineering beyond our comprehension. From his observer's platform, Ambassador Ketlar of the Pentarchy, one of the species still maintaining diplomatic relations with Earth, watches with calculated silence. The amphibious diplomat's gills flutter nervously as he transmits encrypted observations back to his government. The council races are turning on each other. He subvocalizes into his personal recorder. Accusations of collusion with humanity are spreading. The Corvisi delegation has submitted evidence that the Midorian hegemony secretly violated 46 treaties over the past decade. Violations human mediators had documented but were prevented from addressing by Council executive orders. Below, the Council chamber devolves further as Elder Talavosh of the Sentient Collective rises to speak. Unlike most Council species, the Collective maintained positive relations with humans through honest dealings. Perhaps, Talavosh suggests, his ancient voice cutting through the chaos, we should consider why humanity chose this moment to depart. What catalyzed? A deafening alarm cuts him off as the chamber's security system activates. Throughout the Nexus Prime orbital platform, gravitational sensors detect a massive disturbance approaching from the direction of Earth's solar system. The main view screen shifts to external cameras showing a distortion in space, a rippling wave of bent light expanding outward. It passes harmlessly through the station, but leaves instruments temporarily disabled. As systems recover, The Council's unified defense grid reports a chilling discovery. 17 previously unknown human outposts have appeared throughout Council space. Not newly built, they had been there all along, cloaked by technology the Council's sensors couldn't detect. Ambassador Ketlar closes his transmission with a single observation. The humans didn't just leave the negotiating table. They revealed that they've been playing an entirely different game all along. General Ashoka Takahashi stands on her private balcony overlooking Tokyo Bay, where the sunset glints off the quantum shipyards stretching to the horizon. Ships that would have taken years to build are now completed in days, thanks to the technologies humanity had kept in reserve. Her secure comm chimes, a direct line from Dr. Sanjay Kapoor's facility beneath the Himalayas. It's done, Kapoor says without preamble, his face haggard from weeks without proper rest. Behind him, engineers celebrate around a pulsing crystalline engine that seems to exist partially out of phase with reality. The displacement drive is operational. Full gravitational decoupling at 99.8% efficiency. And the side effects? Takahashi asks. Still there, the gravitational wake will be noticeable. Takahashi nods grimly. The Council races will interpret it as a weapon demonstration. Isn't that the point? Kapoor asks, suddenly looking much older than his 50 years. To let them believe we're more dangerous than we actually are. Takahashi watches as the first destroyer equipped with the new drive rises from the shipyard, its hull shimmering as it briefly splits the light around it. Sometimes the most effective weapon is the one you never have to use, she replies softly. The call ends as Takahashi's aide approaches with a data tablet. Admiral Chen's convoy has cleared the Orc cloud, he reports. They'll reach Luna Command within the hour. Takahashi takes the tablet, reviewing the real-time intelligence gathered from their now revealed observation posts within Council space. And our allies. The Pentarchy fleet has successfully withdrawn to the rendezvous point at Ta City. The Lumidian vessels encountered Midorian patrols but avoided engagement. The Collective and the other 4 races are maintaining their position as requested, creating the impression they're still debating whether to fully commit to our alliance. Good. The longer the Council remains fractured in their response, the more time we have. Takahashi swipes through projections of Council military movements. Despite commanding Earth's defense forces, she had always hoped diplomacy would prevail. Now she prepares for the worst while praying Chen's gambit succeeds. Across Earth, civilians go about their lives with surprising normalcy. The public narrative maintains that the diplomatic break is temporary, a negotiating tactic. Only those with highest clearance know the truth. Humanity has been preparing for this moment since first contact revealed the galaxy's true nature. In Geneva, the United Earth Parliament convenes an emergency session. Chancellor Abasi addresses the assembled representatives from 198 nation-states and colonial territories, his deep voice echoing through the historic chamber. For generations, we have hidden our true potential, he says, activating displays showing the construction efforts beyond the Cygnus void. Our ancestors recognized that revealing our technological capabilities too quickly would make us targets. The Council species, for all their talk of cooperation, have never seen non-members as equals. President Rivera of the North American Union rises. What guarantee do we have that this confrontational approach won't lead to war? The Midorian hegemony alone commands a fleet that could devastate our outer colonies. No, interrupts Director Elizabeth Wong of Earth Intelligence. They don't. She activates her own display, showing detailed assessments of Council military capabilities, information they couldn't possibly have gathered through official channels. Their technological advantage was always more perception than reality, Wong explains. They've stagnated for millennia, believing they'd reached the pinnacle of development. Meanwhile, we've been advancing exponentially, hiding our breakthroughs behind a carefully crafted facade of incremental progress. Chancellor Abasi nods toward a secure door at the back of the chamber. It slides open to reveal an unexpected figure, a tall, thin alien with iridescent scales and 4 arms. Ambassador Threlkar of the Centillian Empire, a civilization from beyond Council space that most Earth citizens didn't even know existed. We've maintained secret relations with 17 non-Council civilizations for the past 80 years. Abasi explains as shocked murmurs ripple through the Parliament. Species that were rejected, exploited, or ignored by the Galactic Council. Together, we've been building something beyond the Cygnus Void that will forever change the balance of power. Back in Tokyo, Takahashi receives an alert that Luna Command has detected unusual energy readings from Mars. The quantum telescope array focuses on the red planet, revealing massive structures emerging from beneath the surface. Installations that had been hidden there since before humans first walked on the moon. "It's time," she says to her aide. "Send the activation codes." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations power up simultaneously. On Mars, Europa, Titan, and a dozen other moons and asteroids, ancient facilities, some built by human hands, others merely discovered and repurposed, begin broadcasting a synchronized gravitational pattern that spreads outward at faster than light speeds. The message is clear to anyone with sensors sophisticated enough to detect it. Earth is not alone, and humanity is not what the Council believed them to be. Junior Archivist Prell, of the logical Vayner species, violates every protocol in her strict upbringing by accessing restricted historical files without authorization. Driven by statistical anomalies she's noticed while sorting diplomatic records, she slips past security using credentials borrowed from her supervisor. In the sealed section of the Council archives, T'Prell discovers the unaltered records of humanity's first contact with alien life, records that contradict everything taught in Sino-history. The holographic playback shows the Midorian scout fleet arriving in the solar system 2 centuries ago, expecting to find a primitive civilization suitable for guided development, a euphemism for exploitation. Instead, they encountered a world ringed with defense platforms capable of destroying their entire fleet. Most shocking is the recovered audio from the human commander. "We detected your approach 3 years ago and prepared accordingly. We choose peace today, but make no mistake, this choice is ours to make." T'Prell's fingers tremble as she accesses another restricted file, the original genetic assessment of humans conducted during first contact. The official records classified humanity as an unremarkable bipedal species with limited genetic potential. The actual data tells a different story. "Extraordinary adaptive capacity," she reads aloud, translating the ancient Midorian script. "Genetic self-regulation capabilities unlike any documented species. Recommend immediate classification as potential Omega-level civilization with Type I of development potential." The implications stagger her logical mind. An Omega classification would have mandated full integration of humanity into the galactic community as equals, not the carefully managed uplifting they had instead received. And a Type I development potential suggested humans could eventually harness the entire energy output of their star, something only 3 known civilizations had achieved in the Council's million-year history. They knew. T'Prell whispers to the empty archive chamber. They always knew what humanity could become. A noise behind her makes T'Prell spin around, heart racing. Instead of the security she fears, she finds another archivist, senior researcher Vex Moore of the Tellurian Science Directorate. His tentacled appendages manipulating the archive interface with practiced ease. "I wondered who was accessing these files," he says, his voice translator giving his words a metallic quality. "You've discovered what some of us have suspected for decades." "You knew?" T'Prell asks, instinctively backing toward the exit. "Not for certain, but the statistical improbabilities surrounding human development couldn't be coincidence. Their technological advances followed too perfect a curve, as if calibrated precisely to appear non-threatening while maximizing actual progress." Vexmore projects a 3-dimensional timeline, showing humanity's official technological developments alongside classified assessments of their actual capabilities. "Look at their fusion research," he continues, "officially progressing at a predictable rate, but their energy consumption patterns revealed they had achieved breakthrough efficiency 80 years ago. Their quantum computing capabilities were deliberately understated by exactly 48.3% in every official communication, a statistically impossible consistency. Prell clutches the data crystal Admiral Chen had given her. "Why are you showing me this? Why aren't you reporting my unauthorized access?" Vexmore's upper eye ridge, the Tellurian equivalent of a smile, crinkles slightly. "Because I've waited my entire career for someone else to question the official narrative. And because I know what's on that crystal." He gestures to a private viewing station. It contains Admiral Chen's personal records of every council deception, every manipulated treaty, every instance where human aid was exploited while Earth received nothing in return. I know because I helped her compile it. To Prell's Vanir composure finally breaks. "You're a human agent." "No, I'm something far more dangerous. A council scientist who values truth over politics." Vexmore activates the Archive's quantum transmission system. "And we're running out of time. Security detected your access 3 minutes ago." Before Tuprell can respond, Vexmore transfers the entire historical database to multiple secret receivers throughout Council space. The suppressed historical records are now being transmitted to every independent information network in the galaxy. The archive doors slide open as Council security forces burst in, weapons drawn. But the damage is done. Within hours, the truth about humanity's first contact and subsequent treatment by the Council spreads across the galactic information networks, undermining centuries of carefully constructed propaganda. In her holding cell awaiting interrogation, Tuprell receives an unexpected visitor, Ambassador Ketlar of the Pentarchy, who offers her not just asylum, but a position as historical liaison to humanity's new coalition. "Why me?" she asks, echoing her question to Admiral Chen weeks earlier. Ketlar's answer is simple: "Because you chose truth when your entire culture demanded compliance. That makes you exactly who we need for what comes next." Commander Kolvak of the High Fleet science vessel Eternal Inquiry violates orders by maintaining observation position near Proxima Centauri. His superiors had commanded all vessels to withdraw from human space, but scientific curiosity, a trait his hive-connected species rarely allows, drives him to continue monitoring the strange energy patterns emanating from humanity's nearest stellar neighbor. Energy spike detected, his sensor officer reports, mandibles clicking nervously, beyond measured parameters. Before Kolvak can order emergency withdrawal, the view screen shows an impossible sight. Proxima Centauri dims completely, as though someone has thrown a switch, then reignites moments later. The massive energy wave hits their vessel before escape is possible. Instead of destruction, they experience a moment of disorientation as their ship is transported. When systems recover, they find themselves in orbit around an engineered megastructure the size of a small moon. A human voice comes over their communication system. "Welcome, Commander Kolvak. We apologize for the abrupt relocation, but we wanted at least one witness." Kolvak Chidna's fingers grip his command chair as the view screen shows 3 approaching vessels, unlike any human ships on record. Their design suggests both incredible age and technology beyond Council understanding. "Impossible," whispers his executive officer. "Those are precursor designs from the ancient texts." The communication screen activates, showing a silver-haired human female in a uniform bearing no military insignia, only a symbol resembling a double helix wrapped around a star. "I am Director Amara Okafor of the Proxima Initiative," she says without preamble. "Your vessel was selected because Hive Fleet scientific protocols are most compatible with objective observation. We need witnesses who will report accurately what they see here." Kolvak mandibles twitch in the Hive Fleet gesture indicating cautious agreement. "Report to whom, Director?" "My superiors ordered all contact with humans severed." "Precisely why we chose you, Commander. Your species values data above politics. What we're about to show you will challenge everything the Council believes about cosmic history." The view screen shifts to an external view as the Eternal Inquiry moves into synchronous orbit around the megastructure. Its surface bristles with technology that appears to be drawing energy directly from Proxima Centauri through precisely aligned conduits. This installation wasn't built by us, Okafor explains. We discovered it 27 years ago, buried beneath the surface of our fourth planet. It was millions of years old, yet perfectly preserved. Kolvak's compound eyes widen. Precursor technology. Yes, but more importantly, it responded to human genetic signatures. Only our scientists could activate its systems. Okafor's expression remains neutral, but her voice carries unmistakable significance. The installation contained data archives that revealed a truth your council has suspected but feared to confirm. Humanity did not evolve naturally on Earth. The megastructure beneath them pulses with intensifying energy as Okafor continues. We are the descendants of those your historical texts call the precursors, genetically modified to survive on Earth and develop in isolation until we were ready to reclaim our heritage. Kolvak's scientific mind races ahead of his cultural conditioning. The Council's insistence on controlling human development was never about protecting the galactic community from a primitive species, Okafor finishes. It was about preventing us from discovering our true nature. A new energy signature emanates from the megastructure, powerful enough that sensors throughout Council space will detect it. Proxima Centauri flickers again, not dimming this time but shifting in frequency, its spectral signature temporarily altering to match patterns documented in ancient astronomical records predating the Council itself. What you're witnessing is the activation of the Stellar Recalibration Array, Okafor explains. The first step in a process the precursors designed to awaken dormant genetic potential across all sentient species. Kolvak's executive officer scrambles to record everything, but the implications overwhelm even the Hive Fleet's collective processing capabilities. You're suggesting all sentient life carries fragments of precursor genetic code. Okafor confirms. Humanity simply received the most complete version, designed to activate only when we achieved certain technological benchmarks. Your Council's efforts to control our development actually delayed this awakening by generations. As they watch, enormous gateway structures around Proxima Centauri begin to align with specific stellar coordinates. The star's energy flows through these gateways, sending precisely calibrated pulses toward distant systems outside Council space. What happens now? Kolvak asks, scientific curiosity fully overriding his orders to avoid human contact. Okafor's expression softens slightly. Now, Commander, you have a choice. Return to your hive with this knowledge, or remain here as our guest and witness what comes next. Either way, nothing in this galaxy will ever be the same. The Eternal Inquiry's crew looks to Kolvak, awaiting his decision, one that will determine whether the Council receives an accurate account of humanity's true nature or merely detects the energy signatures of something they've feared for millennia. Fulton Chen, the 16-year-old daughter of Admiral Helena Chen, sits nervously in Earth's primary quantum broadcasting facility. Against her mother's wishes, she has volunteered for this mission, to be the face of humanity's message, a teenager deemed less threatening than military leaders. We're ready, the technician says. This will broadcast to every Council communication device simultaneously. Dalton nods, smoothing her simple blue tunic. The recorder activates. I'm Dalton Chen. She begins, her voice surprisingly steady. I'm not a diplomat or a soldier. I'm a student from Earth. You're probably expecting threats or demands, but I'm here to show you something else. The broadcast splits, showing Dalton alongside live feeds from across Council space. Feeds the Council races didn't know humans could access. They show border conflicts freezing in place as weapons systems mysteriously power down on both sides. Mining operations destroying native ecosystems suddenly halt as equipment stops functioning. We could have disabled all your technology, Dalton continues calmly. Instead, we've only stopped the machines that cause harm. This isn't a threat. It's a demonstration of our values. In a high-security bunker beneath Geneva, Admiral Helena Chen watches her daughter's broadcast with a mixture of pride and concern. Around her, Earth's military leadership monitors the galaxy-wide response. 97% penetration of Council communication networks, reports General Takahashi. The Midorian hegemony is attempting to jam the signal, but our quantum entanglement transmission bypasses their defensive measures. And the device activations? Chen asks, studying the strategic display. All deployed. 7,342 harmful technologies neutralized across Council space. 4 border conflicts suspended. 8 ecological disasters halted. Chancellor Abasi steps forward. The political impact will be significant. We've just demonstrated capabilities the Council believed impossible. More importantly, Chen says, watching her daughter continue the broadcast, we've demonstrated restraint. We could have disabled their military and economic infrastructure entirely. Instead, we chose to stop only what causes harm. On screens across the galaxy, Dalton's image is replaced by documentation of the secret Council initiative to contain human influence, biological weapons designed specifically for Earth, economic sabotage, technological suppression. The broadcast returns to Dalton's face, now showing controlled emotion. We left because staying meant enabling the destruction of worlds. When you're ready for honest cooperation, we'll be waiting. As the broadcast concludes, the Unified Earth Parliament convenes to monitor responses from across Council space. They don't wait long. Priority communication from the Pentarchy, announces Communications Director Paddle. They're formally dissolving their ties to the Council and requesting full alliance with Earth. Similar messages from the Lumidian Collective and the Sentient Collective, adds another analyst. The Tellurian Science Directorate is facing internal rebellion. Their junior researchers are demanding leadership acknowledge the validity of your evidence. Ambassador Threlkar of the Centillian Empire rises, his iridescent scales catching the light. My government wishes to inform Earth that 17 civilizations beyond Council space have formed a mutual defense pact. We stand ready to recognize humanity's claim as inheritors of the precursor legacy. Admiral Chen studies the strategic implications and the Midorian hegemony. As expected, they're calling for immediate military action against Earth. General Takahashi replies. Elder Ziv Krull is demanding the Council unite to contain the human threat before it consumes the galaxy. 6 Council races have pledged support to his coalition. And the rest? Chen asks. Waiting. Watching. Calculating whose side offers better odds of survival. Chancellor Abasi sighs heavily. Then we've achieved exactly what we intended, fracturing the Council's united front against us. The question now is whether this leads to diplomacy or war. In her private chamber aboard the Council station, Elder Ziv Krull reviews emergency reports from Midorian outposts throughout the galaxy. All report the same phenomenon, precision disruption of only their offensive capabilities. Planetary shields, life support, and civilian infrastructure remain untouched. A message appears on his private channel, one that should be impossible given Council's security protocols. Elder Ziv Krull, says Dalton Chen, appearing on his screen. Your species was first to encounter humanity. You could be first to embrace a new relationship based on truth rather than dominance. His mandibles click in agitation. You naive child. Your species has declared war on the established order of the galaxy. No, Dalton responds with startling maturity. We've ended a war that's been waged against us since first contact. The weapons we disabled will reactivate in 48 hours. What happens next is your choice. The transmission ends, leaving Elder Ziv Krull facing a decision that will shape galactic history. Continue pushing for conflict with a civilization that has demonstrated both overwhelming power and surprising restraint, or consider the unthinkable, acknowledging humanity as equals. Throughout Council space, billions watch as temporarily disabled technologies gradually resume functioning, but with one significant modification. Weapons systems, mining equipment, and other potentially harmful technologies now contain safeguards preventing their use for indiscriminate destruction or ecological damage. The message is unmistakable. Humanity could have chosen war, but instead created an opportunity for peace, while ensuring they could never again be treated as a species to be controlled. Elder Talavosh of the Sentient Collective kneels painfully in the long-abandoned ruins on Xanar IV, a world forbidden by council decree for millennia. The ancient chamber, undisturbed for 50,000 years, responds to his presence by illuminating pathways along the floor, pathways leading to a sealed repository. Behind him, representatives from 17 different species, a coalition formed after Dalton Chen's broadcast, watch nervously. Council enforcers could arrive any moment to arrest them all for violating the quarantine. The council didn't forbid access to protect us from danger, Talavosh explains, his three-fingered hand pressing against the repository door. They forbid it to hide the truth. The door recognizes his genetic pattern and slides open, revealing a chamber filled with preserved artifacts and a fully functional data system. Holographic displays activate, showing star maps, genetic sequences, and images of beings similar to humans, but with subtle differences. The precursors, gasps a xenoarchaeologist. The mythical first civilization. Not mythical, Talavosh corrects, navigating the ancient interface with surprising familiarity. And not entirely gone. The central display activates, showing the genetic structure of various council races compared to ancient precursor DNA. The similarities are minimal, except when human DNA appears. The match is undeniable. Humanity didn't evolve naturally on Earth, Talavosh explains as the coalition members stare in shock. They were placed there. Earth was a sanctuary, designed to protect the last precursor genetic line when their civilization fell to a catastrophe of their own making. T'Prel steps forward from the group, her analytical mind racing. If humans are precursor descendants, why did they remain isolated on Earth for so long? Their recorded history shows no awareness of their heritage until recently. Because the genetic memory was locked, answers a new voice. The group turns to see a slender human woman entering the chamber, Dr. Maya Santos of Earth's Xenogenetic Division. She wears no environmental protection despite the ancient dust, suggesting complete confidence in her immunity to alien microbes. The precursors engineered a genetic safeguard. Santos continues, approaching the displays. Their knowledge, their complete technological understanding, was encoded into human DNA, but accessible only when specific environmental and technological triggers activated the dormant sequences. What triggers? Asks Ambassador Kedlar. Exposure to certain radiation frequencies only found in deep space travel, contact with non-terrestrial life forms, and most importantly, Santos gestures to the repository's ancient technology. Direct interaction with precursor artifacts. Talavosh nods slowly, which explains why the founding species of the Council were so determined to control humanity's development. They discovered evidence of the precursors' plan and feared what would happen if humans reclaimed their heritage. The xenoarchaeologist studies the displays with growing excitement. These records indicate the precursors didn't just seed Earth with their descendants. They left installations throughout the galaxy, repositories of knowledge and technology that would only activate in response to human genetic signatures. Precisely, Talavosh confirms. When the Council restricted human expansion, they weren't protecting the galaxy from a primitive species. They were preventing humanity from discovering these installations. Santos activates her own device, projecting a three-dimensional map overlaying the ancient star chart. Dozens of points illuminate across the galaxy, locations where humanity has discovered precursor technology since breaking from Council oversight. We've only scratched the surface, she explains. Each installation contains pieces of a greater whole, technology designed to work in concert across interstellar distances. To what end? T'Prel asks, her vainer skepticism evident. Santos and Talavosh exchange a meaningful glance before the elder answers. To prevent the return of what destroyed the precursors. The chamber falls silent as the implications sink in. T'Prel, ever the archivist, pieces together the fragments of information. You're suggesting the precursors faced an existential threat, one they couldn't defeat directly, so they preserved their civilization within human DNA, to be awakened when the threat reemerged. The energy pulses from Proxima Centauri, whispers Ambassador Ketlar. They're activating these installations, aren't they? Before Santos can answer, proximity alarms sound. Council enforcement vessels have arrived in orbit, but as the coalition members prepare for confrontation, a strange calm settles over Talavosh and Santos. Don't worry, the human scientist says with quiet confidence. This installation has remained hidden for 50 millennia. Its defenses are quite adequate. Outside, the council vessels suddenly power down, drifting harmlessly in orbit. On the communication system, a familiar voice, Dalton Chen's. We thought you might need some help. Elder Talavosh, please continue your work. You're under Earth's protection now. As the coalition breathes a collective sigh of relief, the repository's central platform activates, revealing what appears to be a control interface unlike any technology known to the Council races. Its purpose becomes clear as Santos places her hand upon it, and the entire chamber resonates with energy. This, she says as the ancient systems recognize her precursor-derived DNA, is how we begin to prepare for what's coming. Commander Kovac stands before the newly formed Galactic Assembly, a fraction of the former Council's size, but representing those species brave enough to align with humanity. His mandibles click nervously as he becomes the first non-human to enter the gateway at Proxima Centauri. The massive ring structure pulses with energy as Kovac steps through, his consciousness momentarily stretched across dimensions before resolving in a place that exists somewhere between reality and thought. In this constructed mindscape, he finds Admiral Chen waiting, alongside representatives from 23 human generations, past, present, and strangely, future. The convergence begins, Chen explains, as the fabric of reality around them fills with stars, galaxies, and timelines. What our ancestors built, we now reactivate. Kolvac's compound eyes struggle to process the information flooding his senses. This is more than technology. He manages to communicate despite having no physical form in this realm. This is restructuring reality itself. Not restructuring, corrects a figure that appears to be an older version of Dalton Chen. Restoring. The universe as it exists now is damaged, altered by what our ancestors called the void harmony. The mindscape shifts to show a visualization of dark energy spreading throughout the cosmos, accelerating the universe's expansion beyond natural parameters. The precursors discovered that our universe had been artificially modified. Admiral Chen explains, something from outside, something that exists in dimensions we can barely comprehend, began changing the fundamental constants of physics across our galaxy. The effect was subtle but devastating over cosmic timescales. Is this what destroyed them? Kovac asks. Not directly, answers a human male who introduces himself as Dr. Kapoor. The precursors fought among themselves about how to respond. Some wanted to counter-modify reality. Others believed adaptation was the only option. The conflict decimated their civilization. The mindscape reveals the true purpose of the installations humanity has been activating throughout the galaxy. They form a vast network designed to locally restore the original universal constants, creating a protected region of space where the void harmony cannot exert its influence. In council space, species that rejected the human alliance watch in mounting horror, as stars throughout their territories flicker simultaneously. The effect lasts only seconds, but sensors detect a fundamental change in the cosmic background radiation, as though the universe itself has shifted frequency. On thousands of worlds, individuals of all species suddenly collapse, then rise with altered consciousness. The dormant precursor genes, present not just in humans but in trace amounts among all sentient life, have awakened. Not just memories but purpose floods through those with sufficient genetic markers. Elder Zivkrul, among the most vocal anti-human voices, finds himself transformed most dramatically. The genetic memory reveals his own ancestors were among those who betrayed the precursors, hiding truth to seize power. His newly awakened conscience nearly breaks him, until a direct neural message from Dalton Chen offers forgiveness and purpose. We need all sentient life united. Her message resonates within his transformed consciousness. The divisions of the past mean nothing compared to what approaches. In the Midorian High Command, chaos erupts as military leaders find their most aggressive impulses suddenly tempered by awakened genetic memories. Weapons prepared for launch against human outposts power down as their operators experience a collective epiphany, the futility of conflict in the face of cosmic threat. One by one, the estranged council worlds witness the miracle of stars renewed, dying ecosystems revitalized, and ancient wounds, both planetary and cultural, healed through technology that borders on the mystical. 6 months later, Admiral Helena Chen and her daughter Dalton stand together on the observation deck of Earth's new embassy on Nexus Prime. Below them, representatives from all species, former enemies now allies, gather to ratify the Convergence Protocol. Was it worth it? Dalton asks, watching former Elder Zivkrul, now leading his people toward atonement, address the assembly. Hiding our capabilities for so long, letting them believe we were less than we are. Helena watches as a holographic display shows the Proxima Gateway expanding, preparing to connect with sister installations now under construction throughout the galaxy. We needed them to understand who we truly are, she replies. Not conquerors or saviors, but guardians. The precursors didn't just leave us their knowledge, they left us their greatest burden. To protect life in all its forms, even from itself. She gestures toward the stars visible through the transparent dome. The convergence is just beginning. There are threats coming from beyond the galaxy that would have destroyed us all if we'd remained divided. Our ancestors knew this. It's why they seeded their genes among all sentient species, not to rule, but to create a network that could one day reawaken. Below, the assembly erupts in cheers as the ratification passes unanimously. The panic that once gripped the Galactic Council has transformed into determined unity. And somewhere beyond the edge of charted space, ancient warning beacons, dormant for millions of years, detect the energy signature of the reactivated precursor network. Whatever had hunted the original precursors to near extinction stirs from its long hibernation. Humanity and their newfound allies have revealed their true power just in time for their greatest test.